Hello and good morning. Welcome to the first video lecture of the subject electrical power generation and economics. The video which is going to be covered in this video lecture is the basic things of this subject, that is introduction and the thermal power plant. I am Professor Pankaj Sharma from Department of Electrical Engineering from Sagar Institute of Science, Technology and Engineering, Bhopal. First of all, we'll have introduction of thermal power stations. This is very important to know what is meant by thermal power stations in India from India point of view. Thermal energy is the major source of power generation in India. This is well known fact. We also know that more than 60% of electrical power is produced by steam plants in India, and our country has large deposit of coal that is about 170 billion tons, which is fifth largest in this world. Indian coals are classified as A to G grade coals. In steam power plants, the heat of combustion of fossil fuels is utilized by the boilers to raise steam at high pressure and temperature. The steam so produced is thus in driving the steam turbines or sometimes steam engines couples to generate, and thus in generating electrical energy. That means what? Coal is used to generate heat. That heat is used to generate further heat by means of water in the form of steam, superheated steam, and that is used to turn turbine to give RPM to turbines, that is coupled to your generator, which is based on the principle of Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. Steam turbines or steam engines used in steam power plants does not only act as prime movers but also as drives for auxiliary equipment such as pumps, fan, etc. The basic definition of prime mover is that the things which uses certain form of energy to convert into RPM or motion. In this power plant context, the prime mover is your turbine. The turbine is acting as prime mover. Kindly note this. Prime mover means this is using a certain form of energy. Here in the context of thermal power plant, it is using steam energy to convert into motion, mechanical energy. Steam power plants may be installed either to generate electrical energy, only to generate electrical energy along with generation of steam for industrial purposes such as in paper mills, textile mills, sugar mills and refineries, chemical works, plastic manufacturers, food manufacturers and lot many more, etc. The steam for process purposes is extracted from a certain section of turbine, and the remaining steam is allowed to expand in the turbine. Alternatively, the exhaust steam may be used for process purposes. Thermal stations can be private industrial plants and central stations also. It can be owned by a private party or by government. Let us see the advantages and disadvantages of a thermal power plant. First, let's have a quick look of advantages. Less initial cost as compared to other generating stations. It requires less land as compared to hydropower plant. In the case of hydropower plants, we need a large area for dam, for encasement area for the reservoir of water, that could be a dam, possibility of a dam. But in the case of thermal power plant, there is no need of dam as such of as compared to your hydropower plant. The fuel, that is coal, is cheaper. In India, the availability of coal is actually very simple, very easily we are having coal in India. Jharkhand and lots of part of India are having abundant of coal, so it is cheaper in India. So this is certainly a natural choice. The cost of generation is lesser than that of diesel power plants. Let's have a look of disadvantages of thermal power plant. It pollutes the atmosphere due to production of large amount of smoke. Because of smoke, it certainly pollutes the environment. This is one of the causes of global warming. This leads to global warming. What is global warming? This is another topic we'll deal separately. The overall efficiency of a thermal power station is low, so lesser than 30%. Kindly note this. It requires long time for erection and put into action. It is costlier in operating in comparison with that of hydro and nuclear power plants. Requirement of water in huge quantity. Because the operating cost of thermal power plant as compared with hydropower plant and nuclear power plant is more, and you have seen that the efficiency of a thermal power plant is lesser than 30%. Nowadays in modern power scenario, we are looking for alternative source of production of power. This is your schematic diagram of a thermal power plant. You can see how coal is collected. You can see how coal is collected from this point. It reaches to coal handling point. Then it is burnt and produce heat at this point, boiler. First have a quick look of all the components of thermal power plant. We'll have very elaborate discussion of all the components of thermal power plant, and it is very interesting. This is your air preheater. What air preheater is doing here? It is sending back hot air to the boiler. There is one thing, economizer connected here. What economizer is doing here? It is also adding to your boiler. Boiler is not only fed by coal burnt on the combustion of coal, it is also fed by the regenerated heat within the system. The regenerated heat within the system, that heat would have been otherwise wasted into the environment, that is tapped within the system and sent back to the boiler to increase the efficiency and overall increasing the efficiency of the system. This is your flue gases. This is one very important superheater. We'll discuss superheater in detail. This is your chimney. This is your FD fan. Now the steam coming from this is going to the valve. Through valve it is going to the turbine. The turbine is having 3 chambers. In these 3, that is a part of mechanical engineering. This turbine is actually working on the principle of laws of thermodynamics. At the input of this turbine there is higher pressure and greater temperature. At the output of this turbine there is lesser pressure and lesser temperature as compared to the input point. This makes turbine to rotate. In very simple word I am saying this. At the input level of this turbine there is higher pressure of the steam and higher temperature of the steam. But when this steam goes on towards the end of this turbine, the temperature and pressure is not that much off as it was at the initially. There is a difference between inlet and outlet of the pressure and temperature. So this makes turbines to rotate. When this turbine is rotated, the shaft is connected. You can see this. The shaft is connected. This one is a prime mover. Here it is turbine. This one is your electrical portion, alternator. Alternator works on which principle? Fleming's, Faraday's laws of electromagnetic inductions. When given RPM, it works. Now this alternator is inducing, or this is able to induce your EMF, that is your 3-phase R by B. Let us move to the next slide to study all these components in detail. See this block diagram is given to you just to give you a clear-cut idea and very simple approach how this thermal power plant is working step by step. First, coal mines. You collect coals from coal mines. You need transport for the coal, that is your coal transport. This is your coal transport. That transportation is going to the coal storage. From coal storage it is crusher. You are not going to burn that coal rocks. You are crushing the rocks and making it in powder form. That is known as pulverization of the coal. Pulverization of coal is done to make sure every bit of coal is burnt and give the 100% combustion, just to have our greater efficiency of this combustion system. After this crusher, force air to pass to remove dust. Dust is not coal. Dust is actually will hamper your combustion. It will not give as much as combustion as the pure coal will give you. From this we are going to magnetic separation. Why magnetic separation is required? If there is iron pieces or any kind of iron chunks in coal particles, we want to separate those things. We want pure coal, just to burn pure coal. Remove moisture. Coal will not burn properly if there is humidity in the coal. So we are just going to dry the coal. That is, drying coal means removing moisture within the coal. I told you pulverizing. Pulverizing actually making the coal in very powdered form. That is like talcum powder form. It will stick to your skin. That much of powder form. We are going to weigh it for the further calculation, and it is sent to boiler furnace. After it is burnt, the remaining is your ash, that is your ash handling. This is a big part of this system. This is very much important, how to effectively handle this ash. This is stored and this is ash disposal. So this is the cycle. We go from this to this side. Selection of site of thermal power plant is also a very hot topic. As an engineer, you are supposed to select a better and most suitable site for thermal power plant. Nearness to the load center. The power plant should be as near as possible to the load center, to the center of load, so that the transmission cost and losses are kept minimum. This factor is most important when DC supply system is adopted. However, in the case of AC supply, when transformation of energy from lower voltage to high voltage and vice versa is possible, power plants can be erected at places other than that of load, provided other conditions are favorable. Let us see for water resources. For the construction and operation of power plant, large volumes of water are required for the following purposes and reasons. To raise the steam in boiler, definitely to have steam we need water. For cooling purpose, such as in condensers are required water for cooling purpose. As a carrying medium, such as disposal of ash, and for drinking purposes, for obviously. This could be supplied from either rivers or underground water resources. Therefore, having enough water supplies in defined vicinity can be a factor in the selection of the site. Now, availability of coal, that is, huge amount of coal is required for raising the steam. Huge amount of coal is required for raising the steam. Since the government policy is to use the only low grade coal with 30 to 40% ash content for power generation purposes. The steam power plants should be located near the coal mines to avoid the transportation cost and ash handling problem. The power produced will become more costlier if the transportation of coal from coal mines to coal handling plant becomes greater, and if ash handling too becomes greater or complex, the overall cost of the power which we are going to get at the end of this whole system will become greater, which is not desirable. Now for land requirement, the land is required not only for setting up the plant but for other purposes also, such as staff colony, coal storage, ash disposal. Setting up a staff colony and coal storage is for administrative purpose, and ash disposal is your real engineering challenge. That is, for 2000 megawatt plant, the land requirement may be of the order of 200 to 250 acres. This is for example. As the cost of the land adds up to the final cost of the plant, it should be available at a reasonable price. Land should be available for future extension. Power plant is actually subjected to extension. If you want to extend the existing number of generator, suppose there is 2 unit of generators, in futures 10 years onwards you want to install third number of generator, fourth number of generators, so there should be a backup land for your future extension. Transportation facilities must be available for transportation of heavy equipment and fuels, that is, railway stations should be in the vicinity or near around. Labor supplies, skilled and unskilled laborers should be available at reasonable rates near the site of the plant, that is the real working hands of the plant. Ash disposal. Ash is the main waste product of steam power plant, and with low grade coal it may be 3.5 tons per day. Some suitable means for disposal of ash should be there. It can be used for brick making near the plant site. Please note this. This fashion is nowadays very much important. Some suitable means for disposal of ash should be there. It can be used for brick. This is brick making near the plant site. If the site is near the coal mines, it can be dumped into disused mines to cover up the mines. In case of site located near a river, sea or lake, ash can be dumped into it, but this should be least preferred. This is your schematic diagram of how this coal is burning in furnace is going at the end to become ash. Distance from populated area. The continuous burning of coal at the power station produces smoke, fumes and ash which pollute the surrounding area. Such a pollution due to smoke is dangerous for the people living around the area. Hence, the site of a plant should be at a considerable distance from the populated area. I am giving you a real life example of Obra Dam. There is a place, Obra Dam in Uttar Pradesh. When you go to Singrauli, the power hub of Madhya Pradesh, Singrauli, after 1 or 2 hours of journey from Singrauli, there is a place, Obra Dam. You can see there is a clear visible sign of fly ashes. The whole plantation and vegetations are white because of white fly ash deposition on the plants, and people are there very much having a respiratory problem. So this is real time problem, and we should actually take care of this. Major components of a thermal power plant, that is your coal handling plant, pulverizing plant where you going to crush to make it a powder form, draft DF fan, boiler, ash handling plant, turbine and generator, condenser, cooling tower and ponds. This is the blower that will force the air inwards for the furnace to add on boiler. The economizer, air will preheat it and this is our way to exhaust. Feed water heater, economizer, superheater and reheater, air preheater, then after alternator with exciter, protection and control equipment, and then instrumentation comes to the distribution end. This is your superheated steam turbine. This is a simple diagram showing the furnace. This is your furnace. This air is forced into the furnace. You can see this is your superheater. This is your superheater. This is your economizer. Through this, flue gas is coming out. This is your feed water heater. When water is fed, it is actually first time heated. This is your feed water pump. Water will not move by its own, or it will move because of its potential gravity, or you have to make it arrangement of pump. So if this is water tank, from this tank you need to arrange a pump that will draw water from here to here to feed water into this system. On the way, this water initially is heated. Feed water heater. Superheater and reheater. See this? From the boiler, flue gases from boiler. It is again superheated. The steam becomes dry. The amount of content of water droplets is almost zero. It is dry steam. Superheated steam. It goes to your valve, the controlling valve. From this controlling valve, this is going to steam turbine. Steam turbine at the input of a steam turbine, we have high pressure and high temperature. Okay, and what is this values at this end? At this end, output, the pressure becomes lower and temperature becomes lower as compared to your input. This is the difference. The difference between this input and output pressure and temperature makes the turbine rotate. This prime mover, which is turbine, rotate. So this is extra note I have added, adding extra heat. Extra heat is added here. Coming to discuss boiler one more time. A boiler or steam generator, popularly it is also known as a steam generator, is a closed vessel in which water under pressure is converted into steam. The heat is transferred to the boiler by all three modes of heat transfer, that is conduction, convection and radiation. These all three are ways of transfer of heat. We all have studied in class 9, 10, 11, 12, whichever is applicable to you. Major types of boilers are, first one is fire tube boiler and water tube boiler. Please make it sure. Fire tube boiler means the boiler in which tube is containing fire. That is why it is fire tube boiler. Boiler in which tube is containing fire. The second one is water tube boiler. The boiler in which tube is containing water. In the diagram, I have clearly discussed and clearly it is visible. Water tube boiler, the first one is your water tube boiler. See this is your tube, water tube boiler, water in tube, and boiler is actually like this. The coal is burning outside this tube water arrangement. And what is in this fire tube boiler? The fire is made here, and that fire is traveling in these tubes, and that tube is surrounded by a water tank. That water tank is boiling. And this boiled heat or steam is tapped here. See this. Okay. Let's see once more. Water tube boiler, clearly visible. The tube is containing water is flowing outside the tube. There is fire, that fire is burning the tube water, and heat steam is generating. See this movement, see this diagram. The another one is fire tube boiler. The tube will contain fire. See this, inside the tube there is fire, and outside the tube there is water. Such arrangement of boiler is called fire tube boiler. Fire tube boiler, the boiler is named so because the products of combustion pass through the tubes which are surrounded by water. Depending on whether the tube is vertical or horizontal, the fire tube boiler is divided into two parts. One is vertical and obviously second one is horizontal. A fire tube boiler is simple, compact and rugged in construction. Its initial cost is low. See this, a very simple vertical boiler is given to you. This is your fire portion, fire pit. This is the vertical arrangement. You can see this. Input coal from coal mines by road or rails, coming to coal storage, coal handling plant, and going to boiler. And what about from boiler to next? From boiler to next, it is ash handling plant and ash storage. That's a quick revision of the initial slides. Water being more, circulation being poor, they cannot meet quickly to changes in steam demand. As water and steam both are in the same shell, higher pressure of steam are not possible. Obviously, the maximum pressure which can be had is 17.5 kg per centimeter square. Kindly note this figure. Maximum pressure which it can withheld 17.5 kg per centimeter square with a capacity of 15,000 kg of steam per hour. This is your fire tube boiler, water tube boilers arrangement, both. The figure shows the boiler, water flows inside the tubes and hot gases flows outside the tube. Water tube boiler are classified into as vertical tube, horizontal tube and inclined tube boiler. This is just for your classification. The circulation of water in the boiler is maybe natural or forced because of pump arrangement. For central steam power plants, large capacity of water tube boilers are used. The tubes are always extreme to the drum. They can be built in a smaller size and therefore withstand high pressure. The boiler drum contains both steam and water, the former being trapped from the top of the drum where the highest concentration of dry steam exists. From the top of the drum where the highest concentration of dry steam exists. Highest concentration of dry steam exists. Kindly note this. For the same output, of outer shell of a fire tube boiler is much larger than that of a water tube boiler. This is your superheater and reheater section. Figure shows your water tube boiler. Let us understand what is superheater and reheaters. The function of the superheater is to remove the last trace of moisture from the saturated steam leaving the boiler tubes and also increases its temperature above the saturation temperature. For this purpose, the heat of the combustion gases from the furnace is utilized. Superheated steam is that steam which contains more heat than the saturated steam at the same pressure. The additional heat provides more energy to the turbine, hence power output is more. Superheated steam causes lesser erosion of the turbine blades and can be transmitted for longer distances with little heat loss. A superheater may be conventional type, a radiant type, or combination of these two both. However, conventional superheaters are more commonly used. This is the diagram of your superheaters. Now come to reheater. In addition to superheater, modern boiler has reheater also. The function of the reheater is to superheat the partly expanded steam from the turbine. This ensures that the steam remain dry through the last stage of the turbine. There must not be water droplet contents in the steam. A reheater may be convention type, radiant type, or combination of convention or radiant type. This is all about the video lecture series 1. Thank you so much. We'll be having next topics in my next video lecture.